Yewande stepped into the restaurant and met Tade, who was having dinner with his fiancée. She bursted out in laughter to realize that Tade got engaged to a woman 3 times her size. "I can't believe you left me for this elephant," Yewande said as she pointed at Abike, who sat there embarrassed to hear herself being referred to as an elephant. She was chubby, yes, but no one had ever disrespected her in such a way before. Tade sat there quietly as he watched Yewande rain insults at Abike, who stood up and left their presence embarrassed. Abike could not believe that Tade would sit quietly and watch his ex-girlfriend disrespect her in his presence. She returned home, fuming in anger as her phone continued to ring non-stop. It was Tade, and Abike was not in the mood to speak with him after all that had happened. She sat on her bed sad as she stared at the engagement ring on her finger, tears pouring down her eyes. Abike's heart ached as she thought about how Tade had said nothing to defend her, not a single word to put Yewande in her place. The laughter, the cruel words, and Tade's silence replayed in her mind, louder and more painful each time. She had always known that she wasn't what people would call slim, but she had been comfortable with herself, embracing her body's softness and curves. She felt beautiful. But now, Yewande's words and Tade's silent approval sank deeper into her bones. Her phone buzzed again. This time she answered, her voice full of anger. "Why did you let your ex-girlfriend to humiliate me like that, Tade, without saying a word?" Abike asked Tade, who remained silent for some seconds. For a moment, Abike thought that Tade would apologize for what he had done, but instead, his voice grew cold as he revealed to her that he kept mute because he believed that Yewande had a point. Abike's heart dropped, shocked to hear this from Tade. "What do you mean?" she asked Tade, who without mincing any words, revealed to her that she had to lose weight. "You are overweight, Abike," he said, asking if this was how she planned on walking down the aisle with him. "You are only 24 years old, Abike, but your body looks older than that of a 40-year-old woman. I think it's high time you work on it, or else our wedding would never hold." Abike's heart raced as Tade's words struck her like a blow to the chest. She had never felt this hurt and exposed as she did in that moment. Her hand shook as she held her phone, barely able to believe what she was hearing. She had thought Tade loved everything about her, but here he was, telling her that she needed to change, to become someone else, if she wanted to be with him. Days passed, and Abike began to feel like she was living in a nightmare, her mind consumed by Tade's cruel words. She had always been a confident woman, adored by her friends and family for her warmth and laughter that lit up any room that she stepped into. She was curvy, her skin glowing with the deep earthy richness of her heritage, and Tade had once fallen in love with every inch of her, or so she thought. They met at a wedding, and Tade had told her that she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. She believed him then, but that was before their encounter with Yewande, his ex, who looked her in the eyes and called her an elephant. Abike looked herself in the mirror, poking at her body as she began to hate the reflection she saw. Every time she felt hungry, Tade's voice echoed in her mind, filling her with so much guilt that didn't allow her to eat. Even when she ate, she rushed to the toilet to throw up the food, scared of putting on any weight. Abike felt trapped, torn between the pain of staying in the relationship and the fear of being rejected by the man that she so loved. Who would want me now if Tade, the only man that has ever loved me, leaves? She asked herself, sinking into a state of despair. Determined to be the perfect fiancé, Abike made up her mind to lose her weight. Tade did not make things easy by comparing Abike with his ex-girlfriend Yewande, who became a constant point of reference for how Abike ought to look. It all began on one morning when Tade called Abike by 9 in the morning to realize that she was still asleep. Yewande, used to wake up at 5 a.m. to jog every morning, he said to Abike, who he called lazy and undisciplined for not having the same drive as Yewande. The words cut deep, but Abike swallowed her pride, nodding and agreeing to change. She began setting her alarm for 5 in the morning, forcing herself out of bed even when her body ached from exhaustion. She jogged through the empty streets, feeling the chill of the morning air as she pushed herself harder as each day passed. One night, after a very hectic day at work, Abike decided to grab some food from her favorite restaurant. She hadn't eaten all day and was too tired to cook that evening. When she arrived at the restaurant, she met Tade, who also stopped by to get some food. He looked at her angrily and asked what she was doing there by that time of the night, and Abike told him that she stopped to grab some food. Food, food, food. That's all you think about, Tade said, revealing that Yewande never ate after 7 in the evening. That's probably why she stayed so fit, he said to Abike, who lost her appetite in that instant moment. Abike felt her throat tighten. The hunger that she had felt all day vanished with Tade's words. She watched him walk away, leaving her standing there ashamed and embarrassed. She wanted to cry and scream, but instead, she swallowed her pain and pretended that she was fine. Back home, Abike sat in silence, staring at the food she had picked up from the restaurant, feeling so guilty for eating. Tade's words echoed in her mind like a mantra. Food, food, food. That's all you think about. The words burned, and she found herself hating every bite that she took, imagining how Tade would look if he saw her eating. So Abike pushed the plate aside, letting hunger eat her up instead. Abike had to find a lasting solution to her weight if she wanted to marry Tade. The thought of losing him terrified her greatly as she began to starve and push herself to exercise, hoping that Tade would notice her efforts and quit comparing her to Yewande, his ex-girlfriend. One weekend, Abike paid Tade a visit in his home and came across some weird panties that she knew were definitely not hers. They were too small to fit her wide hips, and Abike, curious to know whose panties they were, confronted Tade, who informed her that he had bought the panties for her. How can you say you bought these small panties for me? Abike asked Tade, who yelled at her angrily, saying that she had only 6 months to lose weight and fit into those tiny panties, because failure to do so would result in the dissolution of their engagement. If within 6 months you fit into those panties, a date for our wedding will be fixed, Tade said to Abike, who stood there frozen to hear such stringent conditions from him. She stared at the tiny panties in her hands, shocked and confused, as she wondered how she would ever fit into the panties within 6 months. Abike could not remember the last time that she wore panties that small, and the realization that Tade expected her to fit into them within 6 months troubled her heart. She held the panties in her hands, feeling her worth and esteem shrink to the size of the panties. In that moment, Abike felt like an object, something that could be molded and reshaped to fit someone else's ideal. But despite the hurt, Abike could not bear the thought of losing Tade. The fear of being alone, of not being loved, consumed her as she convinced herself that maybe, just maybe, if she worked harder, if she changed herself completely, she would finally be like Yewande and gain Tade's approval. So that night, Abike returned home and stared at herself in the mirror, desperate to be slim like Yewande. She grabbed the small pair of panties and vowed that she would fit into them no matter what it took. Abike, in that moment, decided to do a surgery to lose her weight. She had tried exercising and even dieting, but the changes she was seeing were not encouraging as time was fast running out. Desperate and convinced that surgery was her last hope, Abike sought the help of a renowned surgeon who was known for his expertise in weight loss surgeries. She booked a consultation with the surgeon, determined to do whatever it took to enter this love. The day of her consultation arrived, and Abike found herself in the doctor's office nervous. Dr. Folabi walked into the office. He was so gentle and calm as he approached Abike, who looked tensed and worried. Dr. Folabi had seen countless patients, but something about Abike stood out to him. "Good afternoon, Miss Abike," he said, taking a seat across from her as he asked how he could be of help to her. Abike hesitated for a moment, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Doctor, I need to lose weight quickly. I want to be slim. I've tried everything, but it's not working. So I decided to opt in for surgery to ensure that I lose so much weight in the coming months. My life and everything depends on it," she said to the doctor, who asked why she seemed so desperate to lose weight fast. Abike struggled with her thoughts as she deliberated on if to tell the doctor or not. Dr. Folabi in that moment showed her an image he had in his office. It was an image of him so many years ago when he was extremely overweight. Abike could not believe her eyes. She looked back at him astonished. "That was you?" she whispered, still taking in the image of the large unrecognizable figure in the photograph. Dr. Folabi nodded, a gentle smile on his face. "Yes, that was me. I understand what it's like to struggle with weight, to feel less than enough because of it. But Abike, I learned that changing ourselves to fit someone else's standards only takes us further away from who we really are." Abike sat there in silence, absorbing his every word. For the first time, she felt a flicker of understanding from someone who did not see her weight as a flaw to fix, but as part of her story. She shared bits of her journey, her painful relationship with Tade, the constant criticisms, and the unbearable pressure to change. Dr. Folabi listened intently, his gaze filled with empathy and understanding. Dr. Folabi then asked her a question that changed everything. "Would this young man still be with you if you decided never to lose weight? Would he still live and care for you? Or would he discard you like a piece of item?" Abike was so convinced of the answer to the question, but could not summon the courage to admit it. Dr. Folabi, sensing her struggles, advised Abike to do something that would bring clarity to her. "Go home, think of something that Tade does that you don't like. Bring it up to him politely, telling him how it makes you feel, and urge him to change. After doing this, keep calm and see how it goes. A man who loves you will do everything to ensure that he doesn't lose you, but one who doesn't would not care one bit about your feelings. If after doing this, you are still convinced to go on with the surgery, then come in and we'll proceed with the surgery," he said to Abike, who was now lost in her own thoughts. She walked out of Dr. Afolabi's office, his words echoing in her mind as she pondered on if to go through with his suggestion or not. The whole day, Abike spent her time thinking about every hurtful word that Tade had said to her and how it made her feel. She then made up her mind to go through with it, hoping and wishing that Tade would listen to what she had to say and change, just as he wanted her to change for him. The next evening, Abike called Tade and asked if they could meet. She wore a dress that she loved, one that embraced her curves in a way that made her feel so confident in her skin. As she waited patiently for him, Abike rehearsed what she would say, determined to hold her ground, just as Dr. Folabi had encouraged her to do. However, when Tade arrived, he was so engrossed to his phone that he paid no attention to her. Abike, determined to pass her message across to him, began speaking, her voice calm, as she elaborated on how terrible his actions made her feel and how she would love him to stop comparing her to Yewande or any other woman for that matter.
The way you look down on me hurts my very being, making me feel like I am not good enough, that no matter how hard I try, you won't see me the way I see you. I want to feel loved today, despite my looks and size. I want you to stop comparing me to Yewande because I am not her and I never will be. I want you to see me as I am, not as a lesser version of someone else. I need you to understand how painful it is to feel like I am not good enough because that is what all your comparison does to me.
Tade looked up from his phone and rolled his eyes dismissively. You are being too dramatic, Abike. Yewande always looked perfect in her clothes. She never had to worry about hiding anything. But your entire body is always on display, despite what you wear. Many have even mistaken you for a pregnant woman, and all you are worried about is how I make you feel by telling you the hard truth. I am only trying to help you become the best version of yourself. If you can't handle a bit of tough love, maybe you're not ready for marriage. Maybe I am not Tade. Abike said, her heart breaking into a million pieces as she stood up and walked out on him. Abike could not stand being hurt one more time and decided to head home instead. She spent her nights wallowing in her own tears, sad to see how Tade treated her because of her size. Abike knew that no amount of pleading or changing herself would ever make her good enough for Tade. His ideal woman was not her, nor was she anyone he would ever truly appreciate. Abike cried herself to sleep that night, hoping that Tade would reach out and apologize for how badly he had treated her, promising to change. But as the hours went by, Abike did not hear a word from Tade. So she tried to reach out to him, but Tade refused to pick any of her calls. She left so many messages for him, but all her messages were left unanswered, and Abike could not stand the thought of losing Tade. That night was the longest night of her life, as Abike could not wait for the break of dawn to pay Tade a visit to apologize for walking out on him at the restaurant. However, when she arrived at Tade's house, Abike was confronted by Yewande, who warned her never to step her foot in her man's house again. You elephant, why don't you go look for your type? Tade is way above your league, or are you too blind to see that? She asked Abike, who stood there, weeping and pleading for Tade to take her back. You must be so daft, Yewande said, as she watched Abike weep and profess her love for Tade. Do you think Tade would ever choose your shapeless and oversized body over mine? She asked, turning around to show Abike her slender body. I will give you 10 seconds to leave this place. If I meet you here when I return, you would regret ever being born, Yewande said to Abike, who decided to return home after being humiliated in a way that she had never imagined possible. Abike could feel a sharp pain in her heart. It was as if her heart was finally shutting down in her chest. All her dreams and hopes dashed by the cruel words and rejection that she had just received. She stumbled back to her apartment, numb and drained, feeling like a shadow of herself. She had given her heart to Tade, poured every ounce of love and devotion into him, only to be dismissed and humiliated at every turn. Days turned into weeks, and Abike withdrew from the world completely, consumed by the pain that gnawed at her. She no longer felt the strength to even look herself in the mirror, as she mourned the loss of the relationship she had fought so hard to keep. She found out through mutual friends that Tade had finally proposed to Yewande, and this news broke her in ways that she could not imagine. The news reopened the wounds that she thought were already healing. Abike began to find solace in food, hoping that it would numb the pain. Her vibrant laughter faded, and for weeks, Abike locked herself at home, avoiding friends and family. She could not stand the side talks and gossip, and decided to shut the entire world out. One morning, after a long night of crying and sulking, Abike received a call from Dr. Folabi, who called to check up on her. It had been weeks since their last meeting at the hospital, and Dr. Folabi was genuinely concerned about her, seeing that she did not return for the surgery. Abike, he said gently, I've been thinking about you. I just wanted to see how you're doing. Hearing the kindness and concern in his voice, Abike broke down in tears. She could hear how concerned he was about her and couldn't help but tell him everything. Dr. Folabi listened patiently, his heart heavy with empathy, as she described her journey of self-doubt and loss. Abike, he said softly, you don't deserve this pain, and you don't need anyone to tell you your worth. You are a beautiful woman, both inside and out, and no one has the right to make you feel otherwise. Abike found it hard to believe his words at first, But Dr. Afolabi's sincerity and warmth began to melt the wall she had built around her heart. He invited her to meet him for coffee, saying, "Sometimes, when we are overwhelmed by pain, we need a friend to remind us of who we truly are." When they met, Dr. Afolabi did not just offer words of comfort, he helped her start a journey to reclaim herself. He encouraged her to pursue her well being, not to fit anyone's standards, but to rediscover her joy and confidence. They began meeting regularly, and slowly, Abike found herself looking forward to these moments where she felt heard, seen, and supported. It wasn't easy, but with his support, she began her weight loss journey, not for anyone else but for herself. Dr. Falabi was with her every step of the way, lifting her up on her hardest days and cheering her on as she pushed harder. Over the months, Abike blossomed. She shared not only the weight but the insecurities that had once held her back. Her confidence grew, and she began to rediscover the joy and laughter that had once defined her. As months passed, Abike began to flourish. Her laughter returned, her confidence grew, and she embraced the joy of simply being herself. By then, the bond between her and Dr. Afolabi had deepened beyond friendship. He saw her strength, resilience, and beauty, and she saw in him a compassionate, loving heart that valued her for who she was. After 2 years of healing, growth, and love, Dr. Falabi proposed to Abike, and she, with tears of joy, said yes. She had found a love that celebrated her, uplifted her, and accepted her unconditionally. Years later, Abike and Dr. Falabi were enjoying dinner together at a luxurious restaurant when they unexpectedly ran into Tade and Yewande. Tade could not believe his eyes. He stared at Abike in disbelief, shocked to see how beautiful and confident she looked. His wife Yewande, the woman he left Abike for, was now the complete opposite of the woman that he married. After having children, Yewande put on so much weight, and the confidence that she had once exuded had now faded. Tade could not hide his astonishment. "Abike," he stammered, his voice filled with disbelief. Abike turned, meeting his gaze with calm composure. Her eyes held no trace of the hurt he had once caused her. Instead, they radiated peace and confidence, a far cry from the woman he had once looked down on. Tade attempted a smile, hoping to strike up a conversation, but Abike's warm laughter was now reserved for her husband, Dr. Folabi, who placed a gentle hand on hers, a reminder of the love and support they shared. Abike did not need to say a word. Her presence alone was enough to show how far she had come. Yewande felt so ashamed of her size as she stood next to Tade, whose gaze and focus were now on Abike. She felt so insecure to see how beautiful Abike now looked, realizing that the tables had now turned. For years, she had insulted Abike because of her size, but here they were, with the roles reversed. Tade, desperate to save face, forced a smile. "Abike, you look different," he said, unable to hide the regret in his tone. "Thank you, Tade. Life has been so kind," Abike replied. Tade, who stood there shocked. In that moment, Abike knew that she had truly moved on. She had found happiness, strength, and a love that saw her worth. Seeing the tension in the atmosphere, Abike and her husband, Dr. Folabi, excused themselves from the table, leaving Tade and Yewande to their discomfort. As they walked out of the restaurant, Dr. Folabi gently squeezed her hand as he whispered, "You are incredible, Abike. I'm so proud of you." Abike smiled, leaning into him as they strolled into the night. She no longer needed validation from anyone else. She had found everything she needed within herself and beside a man who truly loved and cherished her. The tables had indeed turned, but the most important transformation had happened within Abike herself. She had learned to see her own worth, and no one could ever take that from her again. The lesson to be learned from this story is that self-worth and confidence should come from within, not from others' expectations or validation. Abike's journey teaches us that true love embraces and values a person for who they are, without imposing hurtful standards or comparisons. Despite the pain she endured, Abike grew stronger by finding inner peace, self acceptance, and love that uplifted her. Ultimately, she learned that no relationship is worth sacrificing her happiness or identity, and true fulfillment comes from respecting and cherishing oneself. I hope you enjoyed the story.